Greetings and good day. This is Coach Veronica Marie, and I'm here with a topic that has to do with self-intimacy and also intimacy with others. I've entitled it, How Deeply Do You Want to Know Them and How Deeply Do You Want to Be Known? If you're new to this channel, please do consider subscribing and even liking and sharing this video. You can find me my website at veronicamarie.com. Also, I have an ebook entitled Self Intimacy, A Beginner's Guide to Self Discovery. This is for people who want to know themselves on a deeper level in order to be known by others and to know how to get to know others, right? In this book, I discuss dynamics about behavior, dynamics concerning inner dialogue, emotions, processing emotions, healing, emotional healings, resolving of the past, and things of that nature. So pick it up if that sounds like something you're interested in. It's a workbook style. So you have self-reflective activities all throughout the book at each section. VeronicaMarie.com is where you'll find it. And so this is just one of my informal talks as I experience the world around me as I'm in coaching. If you're new, I am an emotional wellness coach and a certified personal trainer. And I notice patterns and dynamics within relationships, and I like to share them because I realize people often are unaware of what is going on. So, on the topic of knowing a person deeply, this could be romantic, this could be friendship, family relationship, it could be any relationship where you want to get to know a person in a better way, more deeply, where if you want to become more involved in their world. Usually I'm teaching. Today, I just want to talk from a personal perspective because I believe that personal perspectives teach as well. And maybe something of what I'm about to say will stimulate a thought process or a knowing within you. And that is my goal. When I think about knowing someone deeply, from my perspective, I'm thinking about several layers of the person, right? I'm thinking about their spirituality. I'm thinking about their mental. Within their mental, I am interested to understand their belief systems about the world, about themselves, about people. Um, I am interested to understand how they move within themselves, how they treat themselves, how they regard themselves, right? I am interested on an emotional level. How well are they able to move in an emotional realm within themselves, first of all, right? Because that allows me to get a snapshot into what their real emotional awareness and intelligence really is. Because, and it's important to know that because usually people are only able to treat you as well as they treat themselves, right? So I'm interested in how they see themselves, how they treat themselves, how they navigate the emotional space, and how they navigate emotional spaces with others. I'm interested to know whether they are contracting or expanding when conflict hits. And if they are contracting, do they expand, and what is that time frame like, and what thought processes do they put in motion, right, to resolve conflict? I'm examining how they experience the world around them, the people around them who are not me, the people that have known them for a long amount of time. That's important because again, their belief systems will govern how they feel, and their ability to be skillful in the emotional realm will show just how not only aware they are of themselves, but how aware they are of others. I'm interested in that. Very, very interested. I'm interested in their goals. the way they move around financially or career-wise, or if they're entrepreneurs, what is their viewpoint on work and money? That's important to me. I also become interested in their creative world. Are they operating in a level of creativity where they feel satisfied or where they feel fulfilled? Are they exploring creative options within their lives? And, creative options don't just have to do with art. How creative are they in relational situations? Do they get stuck and stagnant with black and white thinking? Are they polarized? I'm listening to all of that. And then how safe are they within themselves? Are there um, active trauma? Is there active trauma in their world? So let's talk about active trauma. Active trauma is when I say that, I'm saying that there are some thought processes that are unconscious to the person, but very much affecting their life with others, right? And so that unconscious behavior causes contraction, it causes negative feelings, it causes them to resort to things like blaming, shaming, accusing, things like that. It prevents them from handling differences very well, right? So active trauma means, do they contract, right, and move into dysfunction when certain spaces are touched, and how aware are they of this behavior within themselves? Some people are unaware and they don't want to be made conscious about something about them because it really is more it's easier, let's say, to be unconscious than to go, hey, yeah, I really do carry that around. So I'm interested in their self-awareness, but not only self-awareness, their openness when a space is touched, because we all have spaces that can be touched and we can contract and feel hurt or bothered or whatever. How well do they navigate those spaces? Do those spaces turn into learning moments and bonding moments for them? Do they turn into learning moments and bonding moments for us? Or do they commonly have to tear themselves away from people because they don't know how to navigate that conflict? Are they open to being known, right? In other words, how safe are they within themselves? A person doesn't feel safe within themselves when they are clenching and attaching and contracting, right? They don't feel safe. And so if they don't feel safe within themselves, chances are when I'm talking and I touch a space, they won't feel safe and will probably involve some type of dysfunction with me, right? So I am interested in those things, not only those things, but when I'm wanting to know a person, I am deeply invested in those areas because I know those areas directly affect me. And also, I engage in alignment. What areas are we aligned for? Are we aligned similarly in our abilities, in our skill, in our capacity, in our experience? Are we aligned well in spirituality? Are there places that cause turmoil and bumpiness? If so, are those spaces important? And if they are important, how do we want to move? How do I want to move? So when I look at these important spaces and I'm listening to a person talk, I'm interested, very much interested in the way they move in the world. So for me, the way that I participate in their experience is not only by being there physically, not only through conversation and listening to what they're saying and also what they're not saying. And I'm not putting too much emphasis on what they're not saying, because if they're not saying something, I will ask questions, right? And getting involved in their world, in their minds, seeing the world from their point of view is exciting for me when I'm interested, right? And so that means I will ask a lot of questions. And so are we aligned for communication? in that way. You know, questions can be tricky. Questions can be inviting and feel like, oh my God, this person is really wanting to get to know me. But questions can also be triggering. So the question is within self, how deeply do I want to be known? And how deeply do I want to know them? If you want to get to know another person, then you have to be equipped with questions. What does that look like? Well, oftentimes, clarity, questions for clarity, questions for understanding, questions for exploration, right? Questions to gauge similarities and differences. There are all kinds of questions, questions designed to provoke action, questions designed to assess, right? When I'm getting to know a person, I always become curious. I become curious in the ways that they move and in all the areas that we just spoke about. Number one, because I'm interested in them, right? So I want to understand the people around me because I take joy in that. Secondarily, if it has to do with romance or friendship, I'm interested in alignment. And so I would love to hear how this person naturally is, how this person naturally processes, thinks, sees, or whatever, because it helps me gauge alignment in key areas that matter to me. Right? I know what areas make sense in my own personal satisfaction and fulfillment, right? And so it makes sense to listen to it. Now, as I'm getting to know a person, the more alignment I discover, the more invested I become, the more depth and alignment I discover, the more invested and I and interested I become, right? And so when I cannot access a depth because a person is in a space within themselves, either unaware or just not open, right? Then I don't get to explore their universe with them. So I can't gauge alignment. So that might make things take longer, right? I have a lot of honor for personal spaces and boundaries and needs and such. And so I personally would never cross those boundaries. And if I do, and I realize that I have, I will pull back, right? Because one thing I don't ever want to do is cross a person's personal boundary space. While understanding, however, that boundary may be causing me to not understand or not be able to move in a certain way. So that may mean I'm not as invested or not as interested, or my emotional investment may take longer to develop because one of the ways that I develop is soul and heart connections. And so if a person isn't connected deeply within themselves, then they might find the way that I operate to be laborious or too much or whatever, right? And I may feel that where they are is not fulfilling, right? So alignment really does matter. Also, the what I'm looking at is not only what is my ability to get to know them, but what is their ability to get to know me? Right? Do they know how to ask questions? Do they know how to connect at a soul level, at a heart level? How do I know? Because I look at the way they respond to me. I know when a person is touching my soul and when a person isn't. And there's certain qualities that are coming about when that does happen, right? And it's different in each situation, but the common thread is people who naturally know how to connect on a soul level, I have no problems with them, right? But um people who either do not know how to connect on a soul level because they don't know how to come out of ambiguity, right? Or if they don't know how to come into their full intention because they have something going on there, um, or if they feel insecure about something, I may not do well with those people and they may not do well with me. That has everything to do with alignment. And so, do they have the ability to see beyond external things? A lot of people say that they do, but in their conversations, I can see that they really don't, or they do it to the extent that they can. right? And so again, alignment. Do they have the ability to resolve conflict at a similar level that I can? And when we're in conflict, right? How do they return the care? A lot of people, if they are in active trauma, it's about them sharing their trauma and them getting out what they feel and what they want and such. And I can listen, right? However, do they turn around and realize that that sharing has had an effect within me? Are they interested? Do they know how to navigate that space well? That's important at this time of my life. Now, in previous spaces in my life, I really didn't mind if people didn't quite know how to do this or that because I felt like, you know what, I have the capacity to neutralize, right? Let's use that word, neutralize when polar emotions come forward. At this point in my life, I do not desire to neutralize things with people without a similar ability. And the reason is because I have four teenagers, so I do a lot of neutralizing, right? A lot of neutralizing within my personal realm, helping them to express emotionally, helping them to understand their own thought processes so that they can create lives that they love, understanding them on a level of a child, on the level of a human, on the level of a soul who is moving through this reality and really could use some information. I am neutralizing all day long because we homeschool. So also recently I had experienced some medical situations where I had to neutralize myself also, right? So I do not have the capacity, and that's why self assessment is so important. What is my true capacity? I have a capacity for beings who are on a similar frequency, right? Of course, we're going to have some things that we cultivate and work through, but the starting frequency must be very similar for me to feel interested, to grow in interest, to invest emotionally, to become more enmeshed in one another's lives, you know. So that's because I have self-assessed, and over time, I've learned some things about myself, some things that I do well with, and some things that I do not. Some things I feel more than satisfied with, and some things I don't. Other things I feel fulfilled within the interaction, and other ways I don't. And so I've learned to minimize the I don't parts and to call in the I enjoy parts. I am similar parts. I align. I call that in more, and I spend more time and energy within those connections because they are alignment factors for me. I feel the way that I want to feel. I create what I desire to create with this particular type of individual in this season of my life. We understand that seasons change, right? So my capacity may get bigger, more expansive. It may stay the same. It may shrink, and all of that as well, because this life is about creating what you desire. I've had people say at times, you should be more patient. If patience is not bringing about a result that I desire, then I should not be more patient. Why create more of what I don't want? What we should do is gauge alignment, because alignment is what's going to bring all the things that we are looking for. And then even when there are spaces to work through, you want to work through the space, which leads me to the last thing I want to talk about. And I've talked about this so much on every social media platform, especially here, the importance of knowing a person's heart. That's so important, because if a person does not know my heart, because either A, they've become infatuated and haven't given themselves time to know my heart, B, because they don't know their own heart, so it's hard to gauge other people's heart, or C, we're just meeting, right? But when there's conflict, how well does this person know my heart, right? Not only that, how aware are they of their own internal unresolved energies and triggers? That matters to me, right? Because when conflict arises, If they are reacting in their conditioned response, they're not reacting to me actually, and they're not interacting with me directly. So that means they're not treating me according to what they know about my heart. They're treating me according to their own triggers and contractions and such. And I hope this is making sense. So it's important for everyone, when they want to have a healthy, happy relationship, to understand their own triggers and understand what sends them off in that direction. And that way they can align with people who are either less likely to do that, or they can become more open to people who may touch those spaces. Again, how deeply do you want to be known, and how deeply do you want to know them? When you don't know the heart of a person you're dealing with, right, you will begin to treat them in ways that are conditioned within you. They become almost like your enemy. You flex up, you contract, you close, you defend, right? But when you don't have active, unresolved past, right? And when you have taken time to get to know a person's heart, you realize you're always safe. You're not safe because they are always going to say the right thing or do the right thing. You're safe because you are in alignment and you understand something about this person's character, but not only their character, their heart, how they process information, how they handle information, how they move from a heart space, right? So when you're aligned and when you know how to connect on a heart level, because you know the heart, you realize I'm safe and I've always been safe. I don't need to defend and contract against this person because this is a person that I love, or this is a person that I'm interested in, and I will not allow my personal unresolved energies to come in and cause some problem, right? So how aware is the person about their internal realities? And that's important. How deeply do they want to be known? I'm recapping. How deeply can they be known? How deeply do they know themselves? It's going to be a problem if you begin to know things about people that they don't realize about themselves if they are not open, because they will flex against that and become defensive. But when a person is open and realizing, hey, there's a lot of unconsciousness within me, which is there's a lot of unconsciousness within us all, and they are open to hear because they know your heart, then the world is limitless in that space, in that interaction. You could cultivate beautiful things. You could explore and create lovely things. And there doesn't have to be this contraction of an adversarial nature. You did this to me, right? It will be more of, when this happened, this is how I felt. And I want to understand how you saw it, because I realized that my conditioning could be taking me somewhere. And I want to really hear from you in this because I want to connect even through a difficult space. Right. So that's the end of this discussion about getting to know people. Again, this could be family, because remember, I'm getting to know my children constantly and teaching them how to get to know me. This could be neighbors. This could be friends. This could be romance. You could already be married. This can work anywhere if you look at these spaces of alignment. And then I give you a personal question. Um, do you know your personal limitations around your unresolved past? And how do you move when your unresolved past comes to the surface and you become seen in a vulnerable way? Right. What are alignment factors for you? What key areas need to be aligned for you to feel satisfied, or maybe sure that you want to invest time, emotion, energy, and such? What are alignment factors for you? Do you commonly move on emotion without gauging alignment? Or do you move in alignment without gauging emotion? Because some people have a checklist and their emotions are not involved. Or do you know how to do both? Do you know the heart of the person? Have you given yourself time and experience to get to know the heart? And do you know your own heart? And have you given them time and experience to get to know yours? Are your expectations in that area realistic? All right, that's it. My name is Coach Veronica Marie. I hope that something that I had said was useful. You can find me on my website at veronicamarie.com. You can sign up for my ebook there and get it and begin working right away. Also, you can connect with me on social media. Just hashtag veronicamarie.com. All right, that's it. Have a beautiful day.